is our end of season investor social. If you have joined us throughout the year, then amazing. If this is your first event, then also really happy to have you here. But these events are just to take a moment and notice what's going on throughout the year. We try to do them every single month and get together. And the format is usually pretty relaxed. We don't want these too long. Usually have some sort of specific topic. Tonight, we're going to get our mortgage update from Ryan Bond. And then we're going to be announcing a new project. We're going to be talking about some wins for Calgary. And also, just to kind of get your mind thinking, I want to hear from you guys some things to celebrate this year. I really want the theme of tonight to kind of be a celebratory evening. I want to learn what worked for this year, worked for you this year. We're going to share some things that we've achieved this year as well as a team. And I just want to celebrate all of you and thank you all for your continued support of this group this year. And what a year it has been. So excited to be here. If you have any questions, comments, throw them in the chat. At the end, we're going to do a fun little game like we usually do with some sort of prize at the end as well. And then any networking at the end with questions or things that you want to talk about at the end, we'll absolutely do that at the very end as well, if whoever wants to stick around and chat. So that's kind of what you can expect for this evening here. So just to start off, if you don't know who I am, my name is Natasha Phipps, the team leader of Phipps Real Estate Group. I am a investment specialist realtor, team leader of Phipps Real Estate Group, who are real estate investors. All of us ladies are real estate investors ourselves. And I'm a trusted partner of RAIN and the Keyspire Network. It's supposed to say Keyspire, it must have got cut off here somehow, but trusted partner of RAIN and Keyspire. I bought my first property just about 20 years ago now, which is hard to believe. And the Calgary market has a lot of, we've had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of cycles, and we have learned a lot along the way. And my husband and I have invested in BC and Ontario as well over the years. Right now we're in Ontario and Alberta, but just love this space and love this community and want to help however we can and give back to people interested in this as well. So that's a little bit about me. I think most of you here know who I am, or I know you, so that is also amazing. So tonight, what we're going to do, what to expect, we're going to talk about the importance of looking back. And this is almost as important for me as probably as it is for all of you. I feel like a lot of us entrepreneurial minded people, we put our head down and we work. And then we don't take a second to be like, damn, what a good job I did, So I really want to hear from you guys, in particular, what you're proud of this year. And even at the end, if there is someone who wants to maybe get out of their comfort zone and share something they normally wouldn't, or tell us about something they're working on, I really want you to know that you can use this evening to do that. So we're going to look back a little bit on the year, not long. We're going to talk a little bit about some positive news for Calgary, some exciting things going on, which I'm sure all of you have heard, but I still want to touch on it, celebrate it, look at our year in a review as a team. That's not going to take too long. The bulk of the very important information this evening is going to be from our guest speaker, Ryan Bond, and we're going to talk about kind of, again, what happened this year and what we can maybe expect going into the new year. So if you have maybe questions specifically for a mortgage broker, and Ryan is a investment specialist broker and a trusted partner of mine, then we will handle those types of questions at the end of his segment. And then we're going to turn it to you guys. So this is where I would love to kind of have you guys chime in and, tell me what you've been working on. Let's celebrate those wins and support one another. And you never know, you might find some like-minded people here in this room or that are going to watch this later on. This is recorded. This will go in our Calgary Real Estate Investing Facebook group. So if you have something to share, we'd love to hear about it. And please also follow us, of course, on our social media. We have our Facebook group, Calgary Real Estate Investing. There's my Instagram there, and phippsgroup.ca is our website. We also have our YouTube channel called Calgary Real Estate Investing. So feel free to go check that out. We just we just hit 100 and some subscribers, so that's exciting. And check it out. So let's get started. So the first thing, now there's a lot of people here, I think I saw in the chat, that are all, and that I know here that are not in Calgary. There's a lot of people here from Calgary, but there's people from all over. We all have a common interest on Calgary real estate, whether we own here or we want to own here. And I think in particular, this information and this slide is really important, especially for people in Calgary who, like, we have been through the trenches here, have been through it here over the last 6 years. And it is important to realize that I feel when I talk to people from outside of Alberta right now, the perspective has shifted a lot. And I think we're almost slower to recognize that here when people I talk to locally than when I speak to people outwardly. So it's really important to see how things are changing. And you know, this is just a very quick snapshot. This is this morning's, November 29th, sold data from my brokerage. And the point of this is really just to show you all of these positives here in terms of average price, days on market coming down, that are showing you that's a huge change in our market. Obviously, year over year, you know, 2020 was an anomaly anyway, but you can get almost these exact same numbers if you look back over the last several years. So major changes, even in the sector that we all you know, talk about in terms of condos. And you know, condos have been the hardest hit in the last 6 years, 10 years here in Calgary. And even that sector of the market is starting to change and pivot. Now, this year over year price, you know, like, it's, again, 2020 was an anomaly, but you are seeing, you know, low single digits in just, you know, appreciation over the last 5 years. Now, is there still tons of supply? Yes. But is it turning a corner? Yes, things are starting to change and improve, which is really exciting to see. And this, combined with all of the exciting news that Calgary and Alberta is experiencing right now, is drawing a lot of attention from the investment community. We talk to people from outside of our province several times every single day. So it's very substantial. And let's see here. What's the difference between a duplex and semi-detached? Okay, actually, Monique, this is a good question, because two things. One, this data is only so good as how it gets entered into the system. And even a realtor I see often mixes up duplex and semi-detached. Semi-detached is a semi, it's a half a duplex, whereas duplex is supposed to mean a full duplex. But often, if you look on the MLS, you'll see semi-detached listed under duplex. So it is not a perfect science, and there's no one necessarily policing this data, but the definition of semi-detached is half a duplex. Yeah. So overall, you know, what has this year felt like? If you're an investor who's been trying to buy properties in Calgary in the single family real estate space, it's been very competitive, very different here on the ground than what we've been used to in the past several years in terms of, you know, the speed in which you've had to make decisions, and we've had to adapt here compared to what we've been used to several years prior. So these are the reasons why the market has felt so different. You know, much lower supply and a lot more competitive market. This year in particular, to kind of like inject another thing, obviously we all know this here as investors, is the secondary suite rule changes were kind of coming to an end at the end of this year. And I think that drove a lot of that investment for the suited properties and single family real estate. So if you're out there trying to buy a suited house, you probably experienced a very different type of process than you would have 2 years ago. So things have definitely shifted. So if you want the whole stats package, like the Calgary Real Estate Board offers, they also get theirs out at the end of the month. So if you want the whole board package, any single month, if you want us to send that to you, just let us know. We're happy to send that to you. And that's a much more detailed, like, you know, very detailed stats package. This was just the daily snapshot from yesterday. Paul, this is a good question. So Paul, I'm not sure where you're from, Paul, but so oftentimes duplex and semi-detached gets mixed up if, particularly comparing the definitions in Ontario to Calgary or Ontario to Alberta. A duplex in Ontario refers to an up-down, like two units. It could be 2 stories up in a 1-bedroom suite or 2-bedroom suite in the lower. Here, a half a duplex could just mean a semi-detached, or you'll even hear people just say duplex. So it is a bit confusing, and they're not the same in each province. So just FYI on that. Here we would call anything with a suite, we'd call it a suited house or a suited semi-detached or a suited half a duplex, just FYI. So just quickly, I'm sure all of you have been following, the news and all the exciting things that have been happening this year, but Alex put together some few lots. I don't even know if I include everything she sent me because it was a lot of kind of good news things that are coming to our city this year and in the years to come. So it's just good to see, obviously, so much injection of business, so much diversification coming, and so many different types of business as well. So we have the 2 new discount airlines coming, Lynx Air and Jetlines, and the growing tech sector that Alberta is now home to more than 3,000 tech companies. It's really exciting to see. We all want that diversification, and several Alberta companies leading the way in carbon tech innovation. And here's just like a snapshot of a bunch of more, some of these things we've been talking about for some time, like for example, the Southwest Ring Road, the Taza development. Those have been, long talked about developments that are finally sort of coming to light this year, and we're seeing what that's going to do to our local market and seeing what it's going to do for our city, which is really exciting. So, oh, and then Alex, did you want to, I don't know if, did you want to talk about just quickly the vertical farm thing and I think there's one more thing you found out after you made this.
Just yesterday, it was, oh, sorry, can you hear me? Just yesterday, just one more company joined there called Greenleaf from Toronto, and they're building a big vertical greenhouse on the outskirts of Calgary, growing greens and packaging here in town, estimating between 70 to 90 jobs. So this is all going in the right direction.
Yeah. And what a creative way to use
space vertically, conserve water, right? And all the resources, and it's sustainable because now we don't have to truck our greens from California. We can grow them in house.
Exactly. And you're not relying on weather and storms and all kinds of unpredictable factors that farmers deal with. So cool. And also the CCMA awards are coming next year as well. My husband's in the country music business, so this was big news for us. We'll be having a big party next year here in Calgary, and it's just good to see that eyes are on Calgary. A lot of exciting things happening in many different sectors of the economy, and we're here for it. We're excited, and everyone I talk to is also excited, which is the most important part. So it just feels very different than where we were sitting a couple of years ago. So, so I want to celebrate our team here for a minute. Again, this is one of those things like I was talking at the beginning. I just I'm the type of person to put my head down. I don't even look up, and I have to give huge props to this incredible team that I'm very lucky to be surrounded by. And we, so far this year, the year's not over yet, but we've done 259 transactions and over $100 million in real estate sold this year, which is unbelievable. And it's really due to the support, obviously, of our community and you guys and our investors. And I'm just so proud of all of them, and so proud of all of our investors and clients who have just really kind of taken the bull by the horns here in the last several years and are going out there and making their, dreams a reality. And we're here to support you along the way. So thank you so much. And big props to the team, ladies. Couldn't be more proud of you.
Natasha, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
I just want to say something to the participants. Not sure if you guys know, but our group success is largely because of a big leap that Natasha took about 2 years ago when she decided to leave our former brokerage and join CIR Realty. So these numbers that you see is a sort of celebration, you know, a transition coming from what we knew, what was familiar, to the unknown, from one challenge to another. And obviously it wasn't easy, but I'm just so happy to see these numbers because it's a testament, Natasha, that it was a good idea. I know that it wasn't all peachy story, but I don't know, do you all guys have a glass of wine? Because I thought maybe we can take this opportunity to toast you, Natasha. One of the hardest working women I've ever met. So cheers to you.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you. It's one of those things, like living this, it isn't just investment, it isn't just real estate, it's living this type of lifestyle, right? This attracts similar people who have similar mindsets, who want to also build something. And I'm just like inspired by all of you every day. And I'm just so grateful for everything that we've done this year, but I've got so much planned as well for years to come. So I'm so excited, but thank you so much, Alex. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. So now we are going to introduce Ryan. Ryan, where are you? I'm going to spotlight you. So Ryan Bond is a mortgage broker who I've worked with for 6 years now. And him and I have done a lot of deals together, a lot of events together. He is an expert in this field. And so I thought it'd be a great kind of time of year to, you know, check in with him as a group and see how the year has gone. And kind of, I think we're all kind of wondering what to expect into next year. So thank you so much for being here, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Natasha. And, you know, congratulations to you and the team. Those numbers are huge. And, you know, I work, we've got, you know, 50 agents in our office and working with different realtors, and you don't see numbers like that. So I just wanted to say congratulations to you and your team. You guys have done an awesome job in the transition that I've been on the sidelines watching you grow into. So great job on that. Thank you for having me. I feel all alone now. I don't see anybody.
Well, how about well, we don't need the script because we're just gonna chat, right? Do you want me I'll just do this? No,
that's perfect.
There.
That's perfect. There. Yeah. So I see a lot of familiar faces out there. Chris and Darren and Mike. Good to see you guys again. For those who don't know me, I'm the broker and owner of MortgageLine here in Calgary. We also have an office in Edmonton as well as one in Grand Prairie. We've taken a different approach by adding a financial planning firm within our companies as well. That's my background for about 22 years. Now I've carried my financial planning licensing, and we still continue to do that for those that want to hear about real estate retirement planning. Because what I found back in the day is that there was a big push for mutual funds, and you know, just get them in there and put your money in every month. And it's needed, it's required, but it's not the only tool or vehicle that can help us get to retirement. And so that's why I really, you know, got into real estate investing myself, as well as working with like-minded people. So we have MortgageLine, and we also have a company called InsureLine, and it's a home and auto insurance company, as well as commercial. And why that's important is we found a lot of our real estate investors were not properly covered. And we found different ways to blanket their properties and save them a ton of money. And so that's something that, you know, we started up about 2.5 years ago. It just made sense to go right in hand with the mortgage company. And then the last piece is the financial planning division, where we have several agents that are dual licensed, and they basically can put, you know, a perfectly good retirement plan in front of you that includes real estate. So those are our three companies that I represent. We as well had a really good year. You know, a little congratulations to our team here. We just crossed over 400 million in volume this year. So that's a record for us. And why is that important to everybody else out there going, that's awesome, Ryan, I haven't met you, that's great, but why is that important? It's important because we have top tier status with all of our lenders. And what that gives us are opportunities, benefits, to get you better mortgages, to push the limits on the 10 doors, to get you above that, to get those wacky deals done that don't make sense anywhere else. When you have that volume, you've got some clout with those lenders. We also have lenders that no other mortgage brokerage has because of our financial planning division. So as an example, we have access to Bank of Montreal, where they don't work with brokers. It's just their policy. It's all kept in-house. We have access to National Bank, which again, great lender. They allow up to 16 doors for clients. So some people aren't aware of that. They think they're going to hit the 5 or 6 doors and start capping out. And I'm happy to say we just actually brought on another one here a couple weeks ago, a company called Wealth One, and they're an alternative lending bank. But what they've brought to the table for us is some really unique products for people that are maxing out or have maybe some credit challenges or income challenges or different things like that. And their rates, I couldn't believe this the other day when we were going through their product line. They'll do unlimited doors, so they'll keep going past as long as it makes sense. They'll keep on going. And the first thing I think about with that is, well, what are their rates like? And so they put their rates up, and so they had a 2-year and a 3-year at 2.59% as an alternative lender that has unlimited doors. Well, we're one of the only companies in Alberta that has access to them. So these are all great things to think about when you're looking at, for a mortgage brokerage to use. And I like what Natasha, said at the beginning about giving back and putting this community together. This is not a sales pitch. This is just, education and information for everybody out there, knowing what you guys are trying to do and how you're trying to get there, that there are options available for you. So when you are looking at mortgage brokerage, you can say, hey, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have that? Because you should deal with, a company that has these different things. The big thing on everybody's brain right now are rates, inflation, what's happening, where are we going with that? Everything I've been hearing on the street is that, rates will start to move up even more so in the new year. They already have over the last few months. We went from seeing 1.59 on a 5-year fix to now 2.34. So they have started moving. My only fear with that is, we've always had to do the stress tests along the way with the last few years, 5.25%. We have to test that file and make sure that, the clients can still afford it and it fits in their budget and everything else. But we're going to start moving up in the rate arena and start seeing some, high 2s, maybe into the 3s, who knows? But, this is all still, we did our due diligence in the beginning, so it shouldn't affect things or anybody's affordability. That should be fine. But what it is going to be is a bit of a surprise to some people, because I feel like over the last few years, we have been really spoiled with our rates. And, I'm starting to see some renewals come up, and I just did one the other day for a client 5 years ago. He wrote his mortgage. He's at 2.74, right? So we've had 5 years of just, awesomeness, right, in the rate field. So I think it's just going to be a bit of a wake-up call for a lot of people. They're going to have to look for different ways. Could be with your insurance in terms of bringing down costs on your rental properties to maintain that cash flow. But definitely, I think we're still in some low rate brackets here. And the only thing that we do a lot of new builds. I use a strategy. I kind of coined it the staggered rate strategy. What we do with our clients when you are building in an environment where you're going into rising rates is you need it set up properly. And what I mean by that is that we have all our build clients on a spreadsheet. And what we do behind the scenes is checking in with that realtor, checking in with that builder. Where are we at? How's it going? So we start off with a 1-year rate hold, get that in place. That's our insurance policy, right? And we have access to, again, some lenders that their 1-year rate holds are really, really good right now. So the last time I checked, there was a 1 year 2.79, which is fantastic. So we get that 1 year in place, and then it's our job as a broker to stay in touch and figure out where that build's at throughout the whole process, because we have access to a 9-month rate hold. We have access to a 6-month rate hold. And then obviously once we're within 4 months, that's when we can get the really good rates. So I've worked with builders for quite a few years here in the city, and we've always implemented that strategy that we're stagger the rate down. We don't have to stick with that 1 year rate hold. We can move it down and cancel it. And it might not even be with the same lender. So we can cancel it, take 9 months. If we're feeling that rates are rising, right, in that type of environment, that's when we really use this. And that's where I think we're heading into. So if you do have new builds, make sure that your broker's watching every step of the way so that they can lock in the different rates, because that's just going to protect you once you get to where you're going to your possession. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't know if anybody has any questions, or if we'll leave it to the end, Natasha, but just want to give you a quick snapshot of MortgageLine and what we've been doing and how we've been doing it, especially in a rising rate environment.
Yeah, I wrote down 4 or 5 things. So first of all, the reason I love working with Ryan so much is that he is a financial planner and a mortgage broker. And often those two people in your life are at odds. They're not usually agreeing. So that's really unique. And not that you can't have 2 of those people, but it is just really refreshing and unique to hear someone who knows both sides of the coin. And what did you call the rate strategy? The staggered rate strategy.
Staggered rate strategy. I did come up with that myself.
Yeah, I love that. But what that means is just, it's more work for you and your team. And that's why other groups necessarily aren't doing that. Like, they have to now, work on your file for 12 months and repeatedly get the deal kind of held for you. And I hear people say, like other brokers and banks, well, there is no such thing. They'll just say there is no such thing as a 12-month rate hold, or they don't have access to it, So working with the right people, as always, with whatever you're working on, is critical. The only other thing, Ryan, is there anything to kind of touch on in terms of commercial lending space?
The alternative lender that I just mentioned will be great for some of this commercial as well going forward, because what we've run into a little bit with the new builds on the commercial side is a lot of people want to have these set up through CMHC's program at 85% loan to value. But CMHC is very strict, and they say we want it fully leased out before we'll do this, which is impossible to do with a new build. So oftentimes we have to look at, taking possession using a private lender or an Alt-A lender, getting that into your hands and then getting it leased out so that you can refinance it. And, there's a lot of confusion over the last probably 6 months to a year about the rules and regulations with this type of program. But they have come out now and said that you can refinance it to pay off, whether it might be a line of credit or a loan that you took out to acquire this property. So that's good news. But again, it's still getting your foot in the door and getting possession of it, and then transferring it over. The challenge with some of that and using a private lender is that oftentimes they can be quite expensive. Right. So you got to put all these extra costs into your budget to go, does this make sense for this building? Or do I just do it at, 20% or 25% and just never mind the CMHC altogether? So there are a few options there. And a lot of people from out of the province have been looking at these multi-unit construction buildings here in and around Calgary.
Yeah. Calgary and Edmonton, it's been popular. Definitely, I've seen and heard of a lot of people running into issues because they're not aware of that usually that very first thing, that it has to be rented prior to closing. And on new construction, that's just not possible. The builder's not going to let you go lease it out for 3 months and then pay them. Like, that's not going to work. So it is a challenge and a trade-off if you want to go new, is that you don't have anything to show for the building in terms of like financials or leases like you would on an existing property. So,
yeah, and one thing to note on that too, Natasha, is the approval process, right? So getting a CMHC approval can take months. When you have a 2-week financing condition in place, it's impossible. So that's when, again, we got to get a private approve this. This is kind of your worst case scenario, and then send it off to CMHC for approval from there.
Yeah, absolutely. What about, and I don't know if there's any questions, just pop them in, but what about short-term rentals? I know a lot of people are getting into the vacation rental space right now. Do you have anything to, any updates there, or kind of still it's very project dependent and lender dependent?
It is, definitely. I was actually just looking through my notes here. So this alternative lender, in their call, or in their notes, they do condo hotels residence section acceptable, and that can be held in a hold co. The ratios are much higher. So normally are at like 40% ratios, 42% for this one. We can go up to 50% on the ratio side of things. And again, they're at 2.59%, and that would probably be with 25% down.
Okay.
So there's that lender as an option, and then I would probably check a couple other ones, but they are doable for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan? Nobody?
Nothing.
I can just keep hammering you with questions. Right? I've always got more questions. Okay, well, if no one has any questions for Ryan, then
I have one question.
yeah, who's that? Where are you?
Sorry, okay, my camera is off. It's trying to
It's showing me. Where are you? What is your name?
Okay.
Why isn't it showing me? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, my camera was switched off. I was
there
trying
you
to get
are.
my daughter to speak. Hi.
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
Hi, Ryan. So thanks for the information. I just have a quick question. So I have an investor buyer based out of Toronto region, and he has not bought any properties yet. So he is living on rent over here. The first property that he buys will be his, I don't know if I can call it primary residence because it's going to be out of the province where he lives. But can I call it his primary residence and maybe get him to fund 10% and the remaining as a mortgage? Is that possible if we buy a property in Alberta?
So just to summarize, he wants to buy a property in Alberta, lives in Ontario, and wants to essentially put less than 20% down.
Correct.
The only way he would be able to do that would be as a second home. So he would have to qualify not using any type of rental income to carry both places.
Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't have any other property, not even a primary residence yet.
Okay.
So can we call that a primary residence? If he doesn't live in Alberta, can we still call that as primary residence and put 10% down instead of 20%?
No, they'll probably flag that. They'll have some questions about, how he gets home every night. So
Right.
Probably not. But if he has the income, we can do it as a second home and still use CMHC to insure it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question. Question from Stan. Ryan, can you fund Ontario property?
Yes.
Yes.
We're right across Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, John asked that as well. Can you operate in all provinces? Yes. Deanna asks, do you use a different formula depending on how many doors you own? I don't know if you meant in the financial planning side or the lending side. I don't know if you want to add to that, Deanna. Or...
Maybe you're referring to rental offsets, maybe. Possibly. But yeah, there's always, it's not one size fits all. It's really taking a look at the whole picture and going, okay, where is this client best to be placed so that we can set the mortgage up properly. There's a lot of different lenders out there, but I always fear one, maybe they don't have the readvanceable line of credit, so you can't get that, and then we're going back and fixing that a couple of years later. And anybody that's heard me speak before, I'm always a big fan of having that as part of your mortgage for your rental properties. It's just easier to set up right from the start than having to go back and fix them. So it really depends on is it rental offsets? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then qualifying. So some lenders that I have access to, they will use up to 100% of your rental income. And they'll provide a HELOC, but let's say, you know, the third part of it is they don't have the best rates, right? So we got to prioritize what we want that mortgage to look like. So then we go, okay, well, if we don't need to have 100% rental offset, you're not there yet, we'll take it over here and do the 50% rental offset because they've got better rates and we can still get the readvanceable line of credit. So again, it just really depends on each client and their portfolio. You know, are they claiming their rents? Is it part of their T1 generals? Have they just started and then they haven't claimed a full year yet, but want to use that rental income? There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to that.
Yeah, no, thank you. My biggest challenge has been that I qualify, but a lot of the bankers say you have one too many doors. So it just, I'm at that point that, yeah, that's what I struggle with. And I can get a mortgage potentially, but it's the wrong kind of mortgage. It doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. I think, you know, with a couple of the other lenders that I have in place, they have been successful with some of my clients that they've been told that they're maxed out and that they have been able to secure financing for them.
That's great. And have you done anything in Canmore? Canmore is a very unique, I've had a number of properties there, and with some of the short-term rentals I do, some of them are actually commercially zoned hotel versus residentially zoned, and Canmore has both. They have either a commercial VRB, you know, you can be in part of the pool, you can do it on your own, but the zoning is actually commercial versus short-term rental vacation. There's two different zonings in Canmore. In
Canmore, yeah. And to answer your question, yes, we've got a few, like the one I just mentioned, I think might be a candidate. Like they'll look at anything if it makes sense. They think outside the box. So other than that, I probably would bring it back to one of the big banks. They might consider it. The smaller monoline lenders typically won't. Yeah, it's an interesting how I found it switches. It's like which year is it and what month is it, depending on what banks will do. And I don't know if maybe they just have a certain percentage that they can have of a certain type of lending, and maybe that's what's going on in behind the scenes, and I don't know it. Yeah, they all have, you know, their quotas and their budgets and how many rental properties they'd like to have on their books, and you know they're all a little bit different, but yeah, they do have a mandate like that as well. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel I'm up against at different times, but they don't quite say that. Yeah. Wow, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
It's constantly changing. I remember one of the first presentations I saw Ryan do. He did like I think it was almost like 10 years, Ryan. Like you had like all these slides of showing like how much had changed in like 10 years in the mortgage industry. And we were all just like, you know, like you're literally shaking when you see it. It's like, you cannot keep up with this. This is not possible. This is why we need Ryan in our lives to keep us informed, because it's just constantly changing. You know, and even though your situation might be the same, like you said, 1 year to the next, you could get a very different answer. So.
Right. Yeah. I have one other question related to that. So yeah, a lot of times some of these properties, and I find more it's for these kind, you know, partnering up rather than seeing how much mortgage I can get. Well, who could I do a joint venture with? And depending on how that's done, does it change whether or not you get hit with a capital penalty or not, or no matter what, as soon as you bring somebody else in, you have to deal with the capital expense on that side of it?
With a joint venture?
Yeah. So if I have a property, I say I want to give, you know, it does really well, but rather than going for a mortgage, maybe I want to find a partner, somebody who wants to own 50% or a quarter or something. And then how do I go to the lender after that, or do they go?
It depends. So if you own the property, the mortgage is in place already, would you just be bringing that joint venture partner in behind the scenes, or do you want to refinance the whole place? As soon as you refinance and you put somebody else on that property, then it gets a little trickier, right? The lender's going to want to do full applications on both people. Some lenders, a co-signer is typically immediate family. So we got to look around and see if the lender's going to allow that person to come in on that property with you. A lot of times to avoid penalties and whatnot, you might just do your own joint venture on the side.
Okay, so that's probably the best way to do it. If you're just looking at from an investment where someone just bringing cash in and they're getting that value back rather than redoing the finance.
Yeah.
See, I love that you see both sides.
That's awesome. Paul has his hand up. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Ryan. Amazing. Congratulations to both of you guys on an amazing year and all your success.
Thank you.
I just have some broad stroke question. I know Calgary is on fire right now, and it's a lot of, and I guess it's a lot due to a lot of investors. But are you seeing a lot of investors outside of Calgary or within Calgary? And if you do have some idea as to people that are residing in Calgary that are investing within Calgary?
We definitely have both. In the last 2 years, I would say the volume of out of province investment has just been like steadily increasing every single month, it feels like. So at the point, for this year, like I said, we talk to people from out of province every day. Like I have meetings every single day with people from out of province, constantly, people reaching out, looking for someone. So the out of province investment is very substantial, but so is our local investment. It's the local investors who are active now. We're also active, with us the last 5 years as well. It's just now it seems like the out of province investors are kind of looking here now as well.
Thank you. The other question I have is that, and again, forgive my vocabulary here. I'm in Ontario. When I think of a duplex, it's a detached home with another income suite. So that's why I was asking the question, because I was trying to understand in my head what's a duplex. Because Natasha, I've been working with your team as well.
Yep.
We're trying to get a detached home in Calgary for my son that potentially has an income suite. So I wasn't sure where that fall into your first couple of slides.
So that would go under detached house. It's not a duplex. It's a detached house with a secondary suite. A duplex by definition here is like a side-by-side structure. So you have, one building on this side and one building on this side, and they're attached. That whole building is a duplex. What you're talking about, a detached house, like you said, with a dwelling unit, we would just be calling that a suited house. So if you're like Googling duplex Calgary, you're probably not finding what you're looking for, because like you said, it's not the same thing here. So suited is the key word here. Suited properties in Ontario, they use the word like secondary dwelling unit. Here it's pretty well suited across the board, and then it's either legally suited or illegally suited, and it's one or the other. There's really nothing in between.
All right, thank you so much for clarifying my question. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. Okay, I'm just checking in the chat. I think there was. Can you do
I have a question, actually, Ryan?
Yeah.
If I have a investor group and we're interested in buying a property, would it be of benefit if every person in the group, like let's say there's 4 of us on title, or 4 of us that are interested in investing, if all of us were on title, or if there was strength in others but maybe weakness in one, then would that drag the group down when it comes to qualifying for a loan?
That's a good question, Mike. I guess that my first question would be, is this done through a holdco?
It doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to, okay. So the rule on holdcos is if you've got 5 investors, those 5 investors have to be owners of that holdco. So that
Okay.
takes out that, eliminates that right away. But what I would say is, you know, if you don't all need to be on title, but less is better, right? So
Oh,
just
less is better.
keep it simple. If there's two people that qualify for this, then do it that way. Have your joint venture outside, and then just keep going that way.
Okay, but if all four people have a good, let's say, good credit rating and have borrowing power, then is there more power in more people on title?
No,
Okay,
no. Your power is going to come in terms of purchasing power as a group, right? And your ability to continue buying. That's where the power of numbers will come in on that.
okay, thanks.
So
Yeah, good question.
you'll see some people, like if they have a group of 4, each of them will go on title for one property and then have their joint venture agreement, you know, over here. But on title, they just have the one individual or 2, and then they kind of work it out in their agreements. At least that's
Great, thanks.
that's what I've seen. Yeah. Good question. Good question. Okay, I'm going to, we're going to move to the next thing. Just, I know there's still questions, just in case people want to leave right at 7. I want to make sure I'm being conscious of everyone's time. We are going to touch on one thing. There was a question about condos in Calgary. Is it a good time to buy pre-sale condos? And this has been the segment of the market that you've probably heard me talk about the least in the last 5 or 6 years, because it's been the most oversupplied. It's been the hardest sector of the market. Now, as I said at the beginning, it's all about the data. What's the data doing? And we are, you know, seeing positive improvements, but it's not like anything is going to, you know, snap our fingers and change overnight. And now we're in a totally different world. So, but given the changing tides, the changing feeling of Calgary, the numbers starting to improve, the conditions starting to become more balanced than where they were, you know, 2 years ago. It's the downtown, specifically, like the, you know, high-rise towers are still the hardest part of the market, the hardest sector of the market. So I'm still, you know, telling people to be cautious. Now, it can be an opportunity though. Like I was speaking to a guy earlier who he just wants to buy something cheap downtown that maybe his children can live in when they go to university in a couple of years. And that makes sense because he wants to buy when they're cheap. So that can make sense for him. And he's, you know, he's of the feeling this is going to start changing and we've turned a corner. So I'm cautiously, you know, interested in condos. Now that being said, they're not for everybody, and they're a very different strategy than what, you know, we've talked about for years here, which is secondary suites and buying for cash flow and maximizing cash flow and taking possession as soon as possible. It's a very different strategy to then go buy a condo that you're going to get in, say, 4 years. So we are working with one project. I did a little video in our group on it the other day that I'm going to mention. We're not going to talk about it in depth here, but I did want to bring it up because it's really the only like even in inner city project I've gotten on board with at all in, I think, about 6 years. And it's due to the location, it's due to the project. I rented an Airbnb just across the street from there for several weeks and just like fell in love again with Kensington area. So love that part of the city. So I'll just share a little bit about it, but it's a pre-sale condo, a 8-story concrete building that's mixed use. It's all commercial space on the main level. Right on Kensington Road. It's a 4-year build time. There is 2 different rental programs depending on the unit. They have, it varies, but what is interesting to a lot of people we've been talking to is they do have a 5% down option, which is secured by a bond, so that, you know, during the course of 4 years, you only need to come up with 5%. And that has been appealing to many people. So if this is interesting to you, like reach out to us. Maybe Dre, you could put the link in the chat. But this is the building. This is a pretty substantial project. If you're familiar with Kensington Road, it's right by that. Is it called 1819? There's like a Taps pub there. The Legion's right there. It's right beside it. There's a huge vacant piece of land there right now. That's a Truman project. And this is a pretty cool building that I am excited about. And I like that I do get the lead time. And I like specifically as well, the flexibility on the deposits. So if you want to hear more about that, let us know. We'll put the link in the chat. Like I said, I'm not going to go through a whole presentation on it, but it is something new. It's interesting. My take on pre-sales, we've done a lot of them in different markets over the years, is it is a more speculative play. Like it just is. There's no way around that. But a lot of investors have a bit here and a bit there, and they do different strategies, right? So this is no different. Is this all I think someone should do? No. Is this, going to maximize cash flow for you in next year? Absolutely not. But I do think with the way that part of the city is going, and this particular project, and the way Calgary is going, I'm interested in this. So I thought I would mention it. And the prices are good for concrete building, mid threes. Where if you look around, they are much higher everywhere else. So the pricing is good, really cool plans, and really exciting project. So we'll put the link in the chat if you want us to send you the info on it. We have a whole Google Drive with everything you need to know in it. Even there's like an info sheet on that bond program when it comes to your 5% deposit. So I think that is going to be the kicker for a lot of people, whether this makes this interesting to them or not, is being able to just put 5% down for 4 years. And that's it. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the Kensington area, because I guess a lot of you are not from Calgary, just as I get the next thing ready here, it is in Northwest Calgary, so just northwest of downtown. And you will get like up probably 4 and up, you will get downtown and river views. And it's just a really cool, walkable, like vibrant community where you can walk to, the pubs and the shops and dinner and bike paths. They'll take you all over the city. So it is a really like livable place to live, with schools nearby, and really everything you can need. So people who live there, like, they love it. They don't ever leave. We have friends that have been there since we were teenagers, it seems like, and they're never planning to leave. So yeah, it's a pretty cool location, and that's that. So in the link, there is a little video as well about the project if you want to learn more about it. So we will share that off to you.